I kind of feel like I want to trim an Echo of Eons, and I want to trim a Karn. We'll keep all the stuff that's low to the ground, and just be slightly more safe. I could definitely see boarding in Mystical Dispute, though. City, Grid, Petal, Petal, Opal, Bauble. Sounds a little weird, but I think I like it. Resolving a defense grid on turn 1 means that, like, my top decks will be live for the rest of the game. I almost don't want to play the City of Traders to avoid Wasteland, but like keeping my petals around might be relevant so I can hard cast this Echo of Eons. What do you got there? A polluted delta. Cool. Yeah, so like I am now in the territory where I can just hard cast Echo of Eons on my turn. And it will just resolve. All right, you have a Delver. That's fine. Okay. Okay. So if this Delver blind flips, it can kill my Narset. So there's actually a real argument to just casting this Narset and not minusing. But if I don't minus this, it like super telegraphs them to hold up Lightning Bolt because Echo is coming. So I think I will take a card out of this. And hope they don't blind flip it. Those are not the hits I'm looking for. Well, right. Okay, let me rephrase that because you're right. It would let them know to bolt the Narset. Well, I guess that would still require a blind flip, right? Like blind flip plus bolt would get it. Ooh, surgical extraction. Okay. Yeah. Who needs long-term stable mana? Who needs it? So there's the delta that I knew about. So I still know they have surgical. And I'll hopefully get to know one other different card with my other bauble. Oh yeah. Attacking prior to playing that Ponder would have been the optimal line. So my opponent forgot about the Narset draw prevention. All right, so they have a wasteland, and they didn't wasteland me off the city. I don't know about that. All right, so we have 3, 4, 5 mana. So I can't echo this turn, but I can Urza, and Urza will resolve. There's some slightly awkward things about this, though. So I'm decreasing my artifact count in order to go and do this. And so it's possible that it would have been better for me to play that Mox Opal out and use that so that I could keep the Lotus Petal around as something that would go and let me like just tap it for mana using Urza's ability. But I still have this Echo of Eons in mind as like something that is going to have a major impact on this game. And so I really wanted to be able to hardcast it, especially since my opponent is very likely to wasteland me now. I don't know. I have no idea why they didn't just do it on their turn. Okay, unless they drew it off their ponder. No, they didn't draw a card off that ponder. Yeah, that's true. If I didn't consider that. So if I had used the Opal as a mana accelerant, it also would have kept my construct from dying to Bolt, but my opponent isn't playing towards Bolt right now. Yeah, keeping the Bolt Mine in line, I do think I misplayed last turn. All right, so this is 5 to activate. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I don't think that's worth it. Twitch chat is a competitive advantage. Is that how that works? Yeah. So if that's something you were going to do, I feel like that should have happened the turn that you killed the Narset. Yeah, deck list is on screen on the Cardboard Live extension. All right, so here we go. Blue, cast, cast, keep the untapped one. So this doesn't require me to tap this to activate this thing's ability. So we can tap that for mana first, then sacrifice it for triple blue. Then we'll go ahead and cast the Echo. All right. So we'll get some freebies. I knew what to do there. Ye of little faith. Conveniently, it also makes the Tarmogoyf into an itty-bitty boy. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So I'm going to have options for what I do with this Karn. I can use it to just get the Worm Coil and resolve that potentially next turn. I do have the Wasteland to think about, though. One, two, three. Oh, if I use these as mana sources, I could go in an entirely different route. So I could go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, potentially 8. And I have 2 floating, so that's 10. I can Worm Coil right now. So I can't lattice and also defend from Delver. Plus, like, when's the last time you put a Worm Coil engine into play in Legacy? Like, you can't pass this up, right? It's just actually impossible to not do this. They can kill my Karn with the Delver and then deal with 2 6/6 big boys that are just going to get bigger. I'll be so upset if my Worm Coil engine becomes an Elk, though. Just, like, throwing that out there. No, Merja, I have Defense Grid. Ancient Grudge to the Defense Grid, okay. Opponent made a real misplay there. So if you want to do that sort of thing, if you're getting rid of the Defense Grid, you can do that on my turn, so I actually can't attack with these Worm tokens. So I think I want to spin the wheel with Urza once. Let's see if we can resolve this grid first, though. No, we cannot resolve that. Oh, that's fine. So I'll attack with my Death Toucher. I won't attack with my Lifelinker, I don't think. There's a world where I will. So I could just go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do it that way and not tap the tomb to do this. I think I'm fine with that. Make our construct a little bit bigger. See if my opponent wants to force a Will of Bobble. So note I am presenting lethal, so my opponent is going to have to block at least one of these. Presumably the Itty Bitty Delver will just jump in front of the construct token. So my opponent's out right now would be Double Bolt. Would have to be like bolt my face, and I don't block. So accordingly, I'll probably chump block with my Urza this turn because I think that eliminates my opponent's only out. Okay. Sure. Morning, Purple Intet. Hope things are going well. We're having a lot of fun versus Rug Delver here. I made a Wormcoil engine. It was great. Note, if my opponent had waited until my turn to flash back their Ancient Grudge, there's worlds where they could still be in this game, I think. I will cash in my Mishra's Bauble on their turn at some point because my construct is still at a lethal number. Alright, they have a Scalding Tarn in hand. Cool. Play the one that grows my construct. So I'm definitely attacking with this. I could try to trade the Death Toucher for one of the creatures here. If I do that, though, it'll trade for the Delver. Well, no, I guess attacking with both is fine, right? The construct has to be chump blocked, and then I can trade the worm token for the other. Yeah, no, both is fine. And somebody just followed. Turtle MTG, thank you very much for following. And I missed the Ging Asian from a few minutes ago as well. Thank you very much for supporting the stream. I hope you're enjoying the content. My opponent have like a Dismember? Dismember would be awkward. And for the subscription as well now. Thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way this month. I really do appreciate it. Alright. So now we lose our construct to the Tarmogoyf. But I have 2 redraws on board that I can cash in on my opponent's turn. And I know they have 1 land in hand. So I think I'm favored from this position. Yeah, Renin 6, not super relevant here. That's okay. So while there's still the greatest number of cards in my opponent's, or sorry, the fewest. Okay, so Surgical Extraction and a Scalding Tarn, that's their hand. Also, 100% would have Surgical Extracted Urza in my opponent's situation. Just throwing that out there. I think that was a pretty big misplay on their end. I think that's worth going to 1 life for. Like, Urza is the thing that is going to impact the board most highly. And you're most likely to die to a construct token out of, like, everything else. Urza sitting here accruing card advantage is also a disaster. All right, LED, cool. So we'll cast that, it grows the construct. I think I just want to play out this now. Go ahead and shuffle that. It's fine. I probably want an island in play anyway. We can just sit here for a turn. I can only produce 1, 2, 3, 4 mana currently, so I can't spin the wheel again. We'll just grow the construct out of Tarmogoyf range and then bash through it. I don't think it's worth sacrificing my LED to spin the wheel a second time there. Because I need to hit multiple artifacts to grow the construct outside of Tarmogoyf range. And I definitely feel like I can say now that if my opponent had played this game slightly more optimally, I probably wouldn't have won. That's just how powerful this deck is right now. So playing the seat will represent growing the construct by 1, so we'll want to hit another artifact here. Lol. Neat, that just resolved. So I have some options here. Kind of like just getting and casting a walking ballista for x equals 1. And then I can represent lethal with it the next turn if it resolves. And, you know, I think I'm going to play it around a daze just for giggles. So now I have a 7/7 construct. That represents lethal on its own. I could just attack in with everything. What beats me if I do that? So Tarmogoyf presumably jumps in front of the construct. It only gets awkward if my opponent can remove 2 different artifacts, which they could do with an Ancient Grudge, but they've already played 1 of those this game. They probably don't have 2. But Now, casting the Walking Ballista for x equals 1 was awkward now that I think about it because of the Ren 6 that was on board. Which also means I can't surgical now, though, so that's something to think about. I should have played this one a little more slowly. So we'll try to kill them with that. And I'll probably just call that good enough. Sure. Still bigger than the Tarmogoyf. You can't afford to play another Dismember. Yeah, sure, that's fine. So now I'm still representing lethal on my next turn. That's pretty good. Ping them there. And now if I can just get one more point of damage, we've got this done. Oh, shoot, I forgot about my LED. You're right, I just missed. That's annoying. You're right. That was a misplay on my end. I think I'll just lattice them now. I think I need to do this in a different order, right? You don't typically think about using your tapped LED. Yeah, so if my opponent makes the attack there, they do just die because I just crack them back with these, and that's it. So we are very done here. All right, now I can just turn this into a creature and crash in and kill them. All right, we'll do that whole song and dance again. Definitely need to tighten up. I made a couple of mistakes that game. My opponent made worse mistakes, though. Not that that excuses mine. But, like, the mistakes that I made, though small, would have lost me the game if my opponent was a better player. I think that's basically unquestionable. So this hand has mana stability, a distraction that will probably get itself countered, and 2 of my best cards. Does not have any acceleration, additional oomph, or protection. My opponent has mulliganed already. I'm going to keep this hand. I don't think this hand is great, but I think it will be improved by a lot of draws. And stability versus Delver with this sort of deck is kind of huge. I would love to just, like, slow roll this until I draw a defense grid or something like that. But it just seems like my opponent's going to tap out for some creature here. Yeah, that's fine. So this is a distraction. If this resolves, I just cash it in for a new card and gain a little bit of life. Absolutely, I'll take a Chalice. I mean, super happy to, like, we got the 2-for-1 there. We got Lightning Bolt for Narset, and it got us a Chalice. So totally happy with that exchange. And Tarmogoyf isn't that much pressure right now. Like, 3 is good pressure. You know, if this turns into, like, a 5, 6, or above, then I'll start to be worried. So we'll play the Chalice first. And then we'll play another Distraction Narset. Oh, okay. Opponent might have, like, an Ancient Grudge then. A Return to Nature, sure. Same sort of thing. Super happy to see that exchange. If I were the opponent, I'm not sure that I would have countered that. I might have let that one go. Like, you have the Tarmogoyf on board to kill it, and if I don't minus with it, you can Pyroblast it later. They don't know I have a Fistful of Urzas coming, though, to be fair. Surgical Extraction Narset. Real glad you did that now. I don't really know if my opponent's supposed to board in Surgical. Like, I do have these graveyard-based elements, but I've trimmed on those with sideboarding. I also don't know that I would actually Surgical. Okay. Sure. I think I will cash this in for a new card. It's close to just, like, leaving this in play since I have so few artifacts. Okay, so Hooting Mandrills is coming. So there's an LED in there. I don't think I want to cast my Bauble yet. Although casting it will put the Construct out of Cindervine range, actually. I will. Sorry, I think I misspoke. It will put the construct out of bolt range. Yeah, I don't need to make a block there. The Cinder Vines is slightly annoying. I'm hoping that my opponent will use it to kill a construct, and then I can just go ham with the stuff that's in my graveyard. And that's 100% worth a little bit of life. So Cinder Vines can blow up either my Chalice or a construct. The Tarmogoyf is a bit of a nuisance in that regard. Alright, we have put my opponent on the defensive. That super, super favors me. How does this read? Thought I had a ballista in there. I don't have a ballista in there. Oops. Yeah, Cindervine's doing work for my opponent, for sure. I wish I had more time to actually think about this. I have 2 minutes left on clock. I'm going to sit back for one more turn, and then I'll probably turn into the aggressor. Do I just win the game if I lattice right now? I probably do. Not 100% though. But probably pretty close to 100%. I could also just get my Wormcoil Engine. I have clock to worry about. Then, like, in the next turn cycle, I can just turn all this stuff sideways. I'm just going to F6 here. No, this is not the optimal line of play. I have 13 seconds left on my clock. So I do want to reiterate something that White Faces was saying in chat. This deck has a lot of moving parts. My opponent in chat says, lucky, very lucky. Is that what happened? I don't know that that's what's happened. What does my hand do? It'll play a turn 1 Emery. That's probably going to be good enough. I don't know that I'll give myself well played. I'll definitely give myself okay played. Alright. Island. Storm is 1. Storm is 2. Storm is 3. I think I will Chalice on 1 rather than Emery on 1. You know, make them have it. Ooh, and it resolved. Wonderful. I wanted my upkeep stop. Not that big of a deal, though. Yeah, the MTGO chat is always a place to go for quality content. We all know that. And Urza's Bobble. I like the cut of your jib, Aaron. So note, I'm taking the redraws here. They shut off my Mox Opal, but I'm very, very likely to draw some artifact within 3 draws that will let me turn that back on. And I can also just Emery anyway, as is. I'm going to have some things to think about. Do I want to do the mutual draw 7? I'm going to Emery first and then make that decision. I think the yes. Ooh, there's already an echo in there, too. I mean, saving this for a turn so that I can turn off all of their artifacts is so good. Drawing 7 is sweet and all, but I think I'm going to show restraint here. Black? What is the black for? Well, aren't we just playing an awkward little game now? Is it just going to be like Baleful Strix? That's my current thought for what the black is for. Boy, that's awkward. So I don't have a 4th mana source for the Karn or the other Karn. I could get a Bobble back, I could get a Chalice on 0. Life got so awkward. If I Emery first, is there anything weird that I can do? That, probably not. So I can attack the Narset. I could produce a Chalice on 0 to dampen the effect of an Echo if my opponent can hardcast it. Well, Emery would cost me 1 mana, right? So I'm going to keep the one that I can tap. See if we hit anything interesting. No. Alright. In that case, I'm just going to attack the Narset, and we'll be done with this. If my opponent doesn't have an explosive turn, I feel like I'm in great shape. If they do have an explosive turn, I probably lose. Alright, so my opponent has a slightly different angle of attack than my own deck. I will be able to get a Karn on my turn. My opponent having Sai when I don't is super awkward. No! No! My sweet turn. Okay. So I can try a Karn again next turn with what I have in graveyard. I can fish either an LED or a Lotus Petal out of there right now. So my opponent has 1, 2, 3. My opponent has 5 mana showing. So I potentially have to assume that they can just go ham next turn, cast the Echo, and destroy me with Psy. I could have Chalice on 0'd this turn instead, but I think if they draw those cards, it won't matter. Oh, Agent of Bolas is in there too. It won't matter whether or not their spells resolve. Just casting them and getting a whole bunch of Thopters will be obnoxious enough as is. Oh my god, my opponent didn't produce any more Thopters than that? I think I just win. I think I just get to win. Karn, crack LED, crack LED, play my Lattice. Wow, okay. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to, like, get something out of the graveyard. I don't think... Alright, so can I play around a Daze? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't play around a Daze and Lattice this turn. So I should probably immediately rebuy Petal or LED. No. Okay, so if my opponent dazes me, I crack an LED, replay an LED, and everything's okay. Alright, we're fine. We're fine. Son of a bitch. Ah! Taking away my hope like that. It's rather cruel. Okay, so is it Mishra's that's top of deck? I'm going to redeploy that. No, we crack this on our turn so that we can draw 1 card on our opponent's turn. Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to miss Narset stuff, right? Like, my opponent last round just completely forgot about the Narset, could have attacked and killed it, but pondered pre-combat and lost a card because of it. So my opponent has a Chalice of the Void. We'll see what they do with it. Alright, they have chosen to put it on 0. That makes sense to me, given that I have this Emery in play and they have Psy. I need one more mana to cast this. No, we're just increasing the number of artifacts that I have in play for when I actually get around to having a construct. If my opponent realizes they can just start like using a giant Tezzeret laser on me, I die. They have a lot of artifacts. It's gonna be like 8 damage or something like that. Even more now. Yeah. Oh wait, is it ×2? It is ×2. Oh yeah, I was real dead there. Okay. So I think I want to go fast. I think I want to have access to this. My opponent has counterspells and I don't. I might end up playing Defense Grid. Some of these cards are going to be, like, playable. Chalice of the Void walks this weird middle ground between being, like, awesome and dead. I think Chalice is defensible when you're on the play and not really super defensible when you're on the draw. I think I want these out. Yeah, I was looking at these. I'm not sure if it's going to be dispute over or dispute in addition to. Let's try over. And what if I just, like... So what... I guess most of the time I'm going to be wishing for Lattice to end the game. So I kind of want to board in the Mystic Forge. I don't really think this deck is built very well with the mirror in mind. No, let me rephrase that. I don't think you build a deck like this with the mirror in mind. That's the more accurate way to say that. So no, we play all of these out this turn in case our opponent does play a Chalice on 0. All right. Hopefully we'll redraw it. Well, our hand is real sweet now if we make it to our turn with this stuff. I don't even think I want to cash in this bobble here. Well, cashing it in might draw me towards a counter spell, which would protect what I'm doing. My opponent just has to have a handful of counter magic. No, it's fine. Absolutely, just like the creator intended. This absolutely hits a counterspell if my opponent has one. Spell Pierce? Yeah, I think I pay for that one with an LED. Let's go. I'm not gonna play around Surgical. Oh wow, that just worked. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Mystical Dispute is kind of sweet. I'm gonna take a look at what Mox Opal can do for me, though. So if I Mox Opal, I just have 3 mana, so I can't put Urza into play this. Oh no, Mox Opal means I get Urza in play. I have 1 floating mana. This is gonna be real fun for me. I'll keep that Mox Opal. All right. So we go Urza, blue, blue, some other random color. So now I have 1, 2, 3 mana. I've already played a land, so I can't get to Karn. I can get to Emery, though. Well, okay, undo, undo. Can I undo that? Because Emery only costs 1 mana. Yeah, Karn was definitely correct over Urza. You're right. So I could counter this unless they pay 3. That could cost them a Lotus Petal. I don't think I care about that. Yeah, that's fine. So I have an LED in the graveyard, right? So I could just draw 7 again. I mean, like you don't say no to drawing 7, right? That's the rule. I'm playing with my food now. A Karn. We can cast it because it's colorless, right? Do I do the correct line or do I play with my food? Obviously, I play with my food. They've had enough. I think I just run it back as is. I think the person who is on the play has a huge, huge advantage. GG indeed. I think this hand has to go back. It doesn't really do anything. Like, it has Karns, and Karns are great and everything, but I can't make a turn 1 or turn 2 play with this hand as is. This one I'll be keeping. I can do an Emery on turn 1. And I think I'll send back my redundant Mox Opal. Well, what do you think about that? Yes, I'll send back my redundant Mox Opal. My opponent has mulligan to 4, so it seems like they're going to try to go all in for getting a Echo V on start. Sorry, I have a hair on my glasses and it's driving me nuts. Yeah, this deck has one of the highest degeneracy ceilings that I've ever seen. Mystical Dispute is sweet. Okay. I guess that exact sequence was a reason to play. I don't know how to do it. Whatever. I have Mystical Dispute for their first thing that can potentially bail them out of their situation, so I feel pretty good about life. I think I want to play Emery. Hmm. If they have a second Pierce, it can trade for my Narset this turn. They have another Pierce, won't hit Urza or Emery. If they have Force of Will and they trade for my cards, I don't really mind that. I think Urza and Narset are the highest upside plays. If Urza resolves, I will have Mystical Dispute up by tapping my Construct token. Yeah, your LED's fine. If you crack it, your pedal's fine. Your Opal is also fine. So tap that for blue. Tap that for blue. We'll tap this. Play out my Narset. Minus that real quick. Take a bauble. Play a bauble. I'm fine with this sitting on the board as a mana sink. I'm actually going to tap my construct here rather than the Bobble. If I don't attack with that construct and I have the option to attack, it's going to look super suspicious. I can Echo right now. But if I Echo, I get rid of his Mystical Dispute, which I think is just absolutely insane. But it's probably not more insane than 7 cards. Yeah. All right. My opponent has cracked their LED in response. Okay. So let's play a Seat. Let's play a Bobble. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could play another Emery, but that doesn't really seem necessary. I think my opponent is now realizing that they don't have 3 mana. Now they could have 3 mana. Now they could have 4 mana, even. And my opponent just concedes here. Alright, folks, I'm going to take 30 seconds. I'm going to grab myself a little snack, feeling a little pokey, and then I will be right back. Alright, I have returned. Let's get back to it. Hey folks, in case you don't know me, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today we're playing with a pretty sweet Urza / Emery Stompy deck. We're currently 2-0, and we also won another game with Death and Taxes to start off the stream. So we are 3-0 for the day, which feels pretty good. Deck here has felt powerful, slightly awkward at times, and wasn't really expecting to play a pseudo mirror today, but you know, it is what it is. Having a blast, trying to figure out what I'm going to play for the Legacy Premier League this week. This deck definitely feels like the right power level for that sort of event. Although if I'm going to play this, I need to get some more matches in, because my brain hurts. I can autopilot a lot of Magic, but not this. Seat, Petal, Emery turn 1, Narset turn 2. Alright, I'm in. We can do some disgusting things if we happen to hit a Lion's Eye Diamond off the Emery. And that's definitely going to be the hope here. Alright, we did not hit one. Yeah, when I looked at Emery, like every other Merfolk, I dismissed it as being a garbage card. But this Merfolk, I think, is acceptable. And dare I say good. Man, I hate Merfolk. I hate Merfolk so much. I could just Karn this turn, but I think I'd rather Narset. I just want to set up towards doing something degenerate. No, I don't think I'm going to play around Daze before I know what deck my opponent is on. And if they are on a Daze deck, I think I'm okay with just, like, cycling through Baubles, because I still have other gas in hand. Thought Scour. Ooh. Like, Emery sitting around and cycling cards is pretty valuable to me. So I think just taking redraws and, like, working towards stable mana and just being able to hardcast things is totally fine. You know, I'm going to treat this like a one-sided Howling Mine for right now. Alright, well, that's kind of scary. Alright, so they do have a Volk. I could choose to play a Karn around a Daze this turn. What would Karn get me if it resolved? Not really to the point where I can just cast a Wormcoil Engine yet. Could just get me a bridge and buy me all the time in the world. Bridge slightly awkward with Echo, but, you know, whatever, you can't have it all. Now that I know my opponent is on a Daze deck for sure, I will play around it. I think the situation was different last turn. So my Karn will just die if I minus, but I think that's fine. Actually, we can just go, right? My opponent showed me they didn't have Force of Will because they certainly would have forced that Karn. I could just get LED and go LED, crack for Echoes, and refresh my hand. I'm going to think about this for a second. I think Bridge... I think Bridge, LED, and Wormcoil are all super reasonable picks. The Bridge is made worse by the fact that I have this Echo in my hand that I really, really want to cast. I'm going to get the Bridge. I think Bridge and Wormcoil are very close, but the Bridge is something that I can cast sooner in this game. With this Emery that I have in play, even if somehow they magically answer to the Bridge, I could just get it back. In case you don't get the joke here, Stryfo is usually playing Dak Phaeton, and stealing a Wormcoil engine is just like chef's kiss levels of good. I should have responded with my bobble in response to that. I was eating cheese. Alright, opponent has another Ren and 6. Alright, my Bridge has resolved. That's cool. I'm not too worried about the Ren and 6 right now. We'll just keep drawing cards. Let's see what they have there now. We're going to have to be cognizant of the number of cards in our hand because of Ensnaring Bridge, but Hooting Mandrills as a 4/4, we're relatively insulated from that. Yeah, Spyglass in the sideboard seems like a good choice. Morning, Lasco. Alright, so we're going to see double Ren and 6 to kill my Emery. That's fine. Oh, this deck is sweet. For sure. Coinman, it's called Oko, and everything's an elk. They can also, like, Ren and 6 deal me 1 damage every other turn. Like, we should really be able to beat that, but just throwing it out there as a thing that could occur. Also, I need to tighten up with my bobble timing. I should be doing it before they return these lands to hand. Another Hooting Mandrill's in hand. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and just like hard cast an Echo of Eons to refuel. I could also just crack my LED, cast Echo of Eons, have more mana floating. Yeah, let's just like crack this, have the highest possible amount of mana floating when we do this. Alright, and it just resolved. So we've refreshed my opponent's hand, so who knows what's in there now. This whole ensnaring bridge thing is going to be slightly awkward on my end now, because now I just want to bash them with my constructs. But I can do some weird things using, like, baubles to grow my hand size. I can also just start, like, spinning the wheel with Urza. Oh, hello. Karn and Chalice are both amazing. I think I'm going to take the Karn here. I can Chalice this turn, though. Chalice this turn, played around Daze, not around Pierce. I'm just going to take the Karn. Karn ends the game. Ending the game seems good. Yeah, I think we're just going to, like, really out-resource my opponent here. All right, yep. So there's your Oko. What are you going to do with it? You'd like to turn my Urza into an elk. Okay. I am fine with this. I have another. Tighten up with your bobble timing, Phil. Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not Paradox Engine is just win more. I legitimately do not know the answer to that question. It feels kind of like that's a quality of life thing rather than something that's necessary. So I have 5 cards in hand. I could sacrifice 3 artifacts to turn my construct into a 5/5 and attack the Oko with it if I like. That gets a creature off the board, which is kind of cool. But I don't know that that's better than just doing everything else that I could possibly do this turn. So let's start here. So I'll draw out a Force of Will if my opponent has one. I will keep the Urza that is not an elk. I was supposed to crack my LED in response there. A daze, you say? That might be my opponent realizing, oh god, you don't have to tap to sacrifice it. Lion's Eye Diamond is not a fair card. It never has been. It never will be. Alright, there we go. Whew. The games can get, like, surprisingly grindy with this deck. This deck uses a lot of brain power. Alright, so what did we do before? So I feel like I liked Defense Grid, I left this in the board, I left this in the board, and I think I considered some of this other stuff and didn't ultimately end up boarding it. CCBDJC, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying this content. This deck's a little wacky and fun, and I'm loving it. So before I cut an Echo and a Karn, but in these games, Karn wishing to get me like the Wormcoil Engine or the Bridge has been really good, so maybe I'm not supposed to do that. Maybe I'm supposed to trim one Narset, since it is blue-blue. And since my opponent pressures the Narsets pretty easily, they don't tend to stick around. I think I'm going to do that this time. Good morning indeed. This deck is a blast. I am absolutely adoring this deck list. Like any blue Stompy deck, like it does have some awkwardness. And I'm not entirely sure that the sideboard's optimal yet, but I think something like this has real legs. Like, I kind of want a Spyglass in the sideboard. And I kind of want Psy in the 75 so that I can create some blockers for these Planeswalkers. I don't know that it needs to be in the main deck necessarily, but I kind of want Psy. I think this hand is good enough to keep. I think I will go ahead and play out the Emery on turn 1. Since I have such a good turn 2 follow-up play, I just want to curve out efficiently here. Emery's also the sort of thing that I think a lot of times you let it resolve and then you just try to answer it via bolt. Milling double Karn hurts a little bit, but okay. Emery allowing me to just cast this Chalice from the graveyard again and again and again is going to be sick. Alright, so just to talk about a play. If my opponent attacked in with the Delver, I really would have had to think about whether or not it was correct for me to block. Because that attack would be telegraphing that they have Wrenn and 6, so I'd have to think about whether or not it would be worth it for me to trade Emery for Delver. I ultimately probably would have, but I would have thought about it. Opponent has a Ponder. So we're going to play Defense Grid to try to make our follow-ups resolve. Defense Grid has resolved. I could crack LED and play Chalice of the Void on 1. It's a little aggressive, and the Karn that's in my hand is pretty darn good, so I don't necessarily know that I want to do that. I kind of think I just want to be able to cast this Karn next turn. So I think instead what we're going to do is... We're not going to look at the top card of your... No, I will look at the top card of your... No. Yeah, so this is why we didn't look at the top card of the library. So now I'm going to look at a random card in your hand before you draw. All right, you have a Ponder. Cool. I'll let you draw. And then I'll get to see what you're drawing next turn as well, unless you actually cast that Ponder. Alright, I was shuffle. And as someone in chat suspected, my opponent indeed does not have... Alright, they're going to draw Tropical Island. Does not have another land to hit. Cool, cool, cool. We'll play the Snow-Covered Island to play around the wasteland that's already in play. So my stuff is going to just resolve this turn. That's just occurring. So we're going to play Karn. Going to crack for mana. Going to minus this. We're going to get our Ensnaring Bridge. Cast the Ensnaring Bridge. I'm going to use this. You can Emery the LED and make a 3/3 Ballista. I think that's a little better because of Oko. I could see that. That's true. Yeah, that would have been better because then there's nothing that takes my Karn off the table. Whereas the Tropical Island that they have on top of their library means that if they already have Oko in hand, they Oko the bridge, kill the Karn. And then, while I'm still ahead, my position is a little worse than it could have been. Yeah, or something like this, too. Sure, sure, sure. The thing about my line, though, is that it lets me just, like, replay the bridge. So if my opponent, like, doesn't realize that and just, like, blows their load and flashes back the Ancient Grudge to get rid of my defense grid, then, like, the bridge is just back. Yeah, so I think I like Whiteface's line of make the 3/3 Ballista better than the line that I took. But I think these lines ultimately are pretty close. Specifically, if my opponent doesn't have Oko, then the line that I took is absolutely obnoxious. And plays better around my opponent getting fat creatures that I can't ping with Ballista. So this is actually pretty interesting. This would be a match that I'd probably go back and rewatch later and like spend a little more time thinking about the decision trees. Emery being this like crazy one-sided howling mine slash demonic tutor sort of thing every turn has been absolutely crazy. I will probably devote some mental energy. Alright, my opponent does have a Force of Will. Towards, like, brewing some more Emery decks. Oh man, super happy to draw that Chalice of the Void. Sequencing thing on my end. I should have let my Emery ability resolve prior to cracking my LED in case my opponent had surgical extraction. Or no, I have defense grid still. But, like, if I didn't have defense grid, that's something I should have done. No, I think I like the Chalice on 1 because, like, yes, they have this, like, one shot at Ancient Grudge that they can go and do, but I'm just going to get to rebuy, right? So I'm going to keep them off of cantripping unless they grudge the Chalice. And if they grudge the Chalice, I'll just bring it right back. I don't think it's correct to play around, like, basically just Ancient Grudge. So, like, you get Ancient Grudge, Tarmogoyf, Daze on 2. I think I'd rather cut them off of Bolt for my Emery. So, like, now the only way they can take out Emery is by flashing back. Well, alright, not only way, because they could have Dismember like my previous opponent did. Yeah, this has been an absolute insane showcase in how powerful Emery is. Emery might make the spot of, like, best merfolk ever printed. And I know what I'm saying. Like, not necessarily in a vacuum, because, like, in a vacuum, something like True Name Nemesis is absolutely obnoxious. But this is, like, an archetype-defining card that, when left unchecked, just grinds people into the dirt. Yeah, so this leaves me with both Defense Grid and Bridge still around. So this is, like, totally fine. It becomes less fine if my opponent, like, top decks Oko or another Grudge effect. But otherwise, we can hide here for a while. Alright, that's a little annoying. We don't want our hand to get clunked up with, like, Echoes and Urzas and Karns right now, while I don't have stable mana. Crap. The good news here is I'm going to get to, like, crack back on their Planeswalkers. The bad news is everything else. So I'm dead in 2 turns to board, even if I chump block. I think rather than attack the Planeswalkers here, I'm just going to pass the turn. I'm going to chump block the Tarmogoyf, hope to draw Lion's Eye Diamond, and then do something to get me out of this. I'm not sure what that something is yet, but it involves 7-ish cards. Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't, like, figured out why people are complaining about Oko so much, it's this sort of thing, right? Like, I was absolutely dominating this game, and then Oko hit the battlefield. It has too much loyalty, so I can't crack it back with this Elk and kill it. It invalidated a game-winning hate card. And it's just going to start producing these food tokens that would stabilize my opponent's life total, or every other turn they'll produce a 3/3. And that's super relevant on this board. Hey, Arkin, thank you very much for the host here. And we're dead. Alright, hello folks, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy death and taxes. Today we are playing an Urza Echoes Emery Stompy sort of deck. We are going to Game 3 versus Rug Delver, and we will be on the play. Can I ask you a weird question? Do you think Jund at all could be good now? So the question about Jund is always, why aren't you in the fourth color for blue? Because 4-color control is relatively similar in terms of, like, play style. So that'd be question one you would have to ask yourself. Like, is the card quality here high enough that I'm willing to go and not have blue in my deck? And I think the answer is no, because just jamming something like Oko into your deck probably just makes your deck better, right? And then the other thing is, are Jund's threats resilient enough that I want to be playing this deck? And I don't know that I want to be on, like, the Dark Confidant deck when a lot of my opponents are going to be playing Wrenn and 6. Alright, so what does my hand do? My hand on turn 2 can probably produce Karn or Narset. The short version is cut your Thalias. Your Thalias aren't good. Cut Thalias and Revokers and play a fair game. A little bit slower than what you're used to doing in the past. I think this hand's kind of medium. I'm not sure that it's bad enough to go back, though. I'm going to refill my water and let chat say what they have to say about this one. Alright, chat's in the same boat as I am, where I think this is good enough where you keep it, but I'm super not excited about this keep. Mana stability is worth a lot versus Delver. I'm also not going to play out the Bobble and Opal this turn. It's like a good Moldify. Yeah, that's an okay way to look at it. I'm not going to play out the Bobble and Opal yet. I'm fine with exposing those to counter magic, given the haymakers that I have in hand. I can play the Narset around Daze, but not Pierce this turn. I would be okay with trading for a Pierce. Oh, I'm ecstatic to trade for a Force. Absolutely thrilled about that. Force pitching, true name. Happy with this exchange. If my opponent has another Force of Will, though, and I end up losing this Karn to it, I'm going to be kind of sitting dead in the water and at the mercy of my top decks. Yes, Static Grip, I could have done that, but I want to use this city next turn to fuel the Karn, and I don't want to play another land after playing the City of Traders, preferably for the rest of the game. Like, unless I get Wastelanded, I'm going to want to keep this city around because it'll let me play around the soft mana denial so well. So next turn, I get to play Karn around both Daze and Pierce, which is awesome. And if my opponent doesn't play out a clock here, all the better for me. Note, we will not be cracking this Bauble so that I can continue to use my Mox Opal for mana. Now I have to think about this. I think I'm going to play my Narset first. This lets me play around Pierce without having to get rid of the Petal. I'm okay with trading this for something like a Blast or a Lightning Bolt. Ooh. I'll be taking the Defense Grid. Will I play the Defense Grid into Pierce? I think I will play the Defense Grid into Pierce. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure if my opponent has Soft Disruption and I'm playing around it effectively, or if their hand is just clunked up with things like Oko. Could be some combination of both. Sure. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of happy about that because that means something like Oko isn't just like slamming onto the board. Yep, Renin 6 is totally fine. We'll see what they do with it. They might shoot my Narset. Yeah, I think I like that play. So I'll still have Metalcraft if I crack this. All right, so the Renin 6, and that's top of library. Ooh, okay. LED, cast. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make that up to 7 mana if I have Urza. How do I want to play this turn? So if I go Karn minus, I can get something that's 3 or less. I think I'm going to crack this Narset, turn my opponent's cantrips back on, and see what I can do. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That seems good. What are we going... Oh, that one. I picked that one. You think my opponent knows they're dead? They figured it out. They figured it out. Okay, playing this deck is mentally exhausting. There's a lot of lines. There's a lot of room for good decisions. There's plenty of places to make mistakes. But as you can see, like, the power level is definitely there. I think this next one will probably be my last match if we have another grindy match, because I'm starting to get hungry. This is not the sort of stompy deck that is just cruising through games. That's even reflected in the mana base, right? Like, so we only have 4 soul lands here. This isn't just the traditional stompy sort of list where it's like, okay, I slam this Chalice on turn 1, I slam this Trinisphere on turn 2, I try to lock you out of the game ASAP. We are grinding through opponents using Emry, Narset, Karn, Urza. We're going long with this deck list. Yeah, thanks for hanging out for a bit, and thank you for this deck list. This deck list is super fun. So, Sai potentially has a home in here somewhere. Main deck or sideboard. A Sorcerer's Spyglass seems good. Haven't boarded in Flusterstorms yet. Unsure about whether or not something like Witchbane Orb is actually going to be worth the slot. Oh, hello, hello. Yeah, I don't think I've seen you in chat before. So... I'd probably be comfortable cutting Witchbane Orb for a Spyglass. I mean, we've seen the degenerate things that the Echoes did. I think if you get rid of the Echo package, then like that could give you room for like main deck Sai or main deck the little like Saga card, the Antiquity Wars, or like the other Karn. I think there's room for tinkering here. The thing I like about the Echo package, though, is that when you mull more than once, the Echo package can really bail you out. Like, we had a 4-card hand that we kept, I think, that had, like, the possibility of echoing, and that brought us back from the brink. I mean, I think Rug Delver is very, very easily the best deck in the format right now. I don't think there's a lot of contention about that. Yeah, so Narset is fine in the deck, albeit, you know, it is blue-blue, so you can't necessarily accelerate it out on the Ancient Tomb and City hands. And LED is great. LED is great with Karn. That's let me do plenty of degenerate things. And the upside of pairing it with Echoes is just woo, way, way, way up there. Yeah, the Mystical Disputes are pretty sweet. There's been a lot of these, like, weird conditional counter spells that if X condition is true, they become a little bit better. 1 mana leak is pretty hot. You finally catch me live, and then you have to leave the stream because you get paired against me. Womp, 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 womp. I'm going to give Nathan a second to close the stream here. The good news is that you'll get to go and watch a replay later with good commentary on it. All right. So Nathan's probably playing D&T. This is a pretty medium hand versus D&T. So I can go land, Petal, Mox, Specifically, I can go Seat, Pedal, Mox, Narset turn 1, Chalice turn 2. And then just try to get me into a piece of gas that's going to be better against D&T. Knowing the matchup, this one is kind of close to a mulligan. I'm still going to keep it because Nathan has been testing other things as well, so it's not 100% to be D&T. Hey, Cliffy, welcome. Karn seems fine. Oh, Ancestral Vision. Okay. All right. Narset laughs. I think I'm going to take the LED side of the equation here. That gives me Metalcraft back for Mox Opal. I could cast a Karn this turn. My opponent's 1-drops are also going to be worse as is due to my Narset. But if I take a turn off to play this Chalice, I will also stop something. It's weird. No, I mean, I'm going to take a turn to Chalice. I don't know if my opponent is on, like, Shardless Bug, Shardless Rug, 4-color Waterfalls, and lacking some of that information, it might just be better to just play this out. Tarmogoyf, sure thing. So I have, like, no 2-drops as well, right? I could take another turn off to Chalice on 2. I could also keep this secondary Chalice around. So I can go Karn, crack LED minus get bridge, keep the Tarmogoyf at bay, keep my Narset around. I think there's pretty strong merit to that line. No, I think the Ancestral Visions is already checked by my Narset, and if the Narset is defended by Bridge, then I don't need to worry about that in the next couple of turns. So, like, as long as this doesn't die this turn to something, I feel pretty good. So, like, this would be a dead card if I had Chaliced on 0'd last turn. So 4 mana available. You just get like a Mystic Forge for value. Could get a Ballista in case they somehow answer this bridge. You just get something and prepare for a future turn. I also could just go for liquid metal coating and start mucking with lands. And we're going. I think we'll just stop here and leave myself with the ability to remove that Narset if I need to. Or sorry, to remove that Narset from the top of my library if I need to. I want to leave it there in case they have Punishing Fire, which they do not. Scavenging Ooze is fine. That's not doing too much currently. So it seems kind of like that was just a laziness thing, rather than just like not being able to F6 through my turn. Now I'm going to exile that. I don't want to draw that Narset. Alright, you're going to draw a Punishing Fire. That's a little annoying. Crashing Footfalls. Okay, so my opponent is on the Rug Rhinos build. Alright, Emery is cool. This draw of Chalice is actually absolutely, legitimately insane. So I put this on 2 now to stop the Punishing Fire that's on the top of their deck that I now know about. We have this Emery that we're going to draw into, and it will be like chef's kiss good. All right. Nathan's done here. All right, so we are playing against a 4-color Cascade deck. So Chalice on 0 is actually going to be pretty good against my opponent, but also against me. Chalice on 2 will be useful, but oftentimes slow. My opponent actually won't have that many counterspells, probably just 4 Force-o-Wills, so I don't even know that I'll want Defense Grid. I saw a Scavenging Ooze, so I do need to think about interaction with my graveyard. Honestly, I feel like I'm pretty well set up for this grind fight. I think my chalices are really awkward. I kind of want to play this so I can get a little bit faster. I think since my chalices are awkward, I'm going to go ahead and trim one. They're not bad, to clarify. They are not bad. But I kind of want... I can potentially want Chalice on every number between 0 and 2 in this matchup. So Chalice on any one of those given numbers isn't necessarily going to be game-ending. It's possible that trimming like a Narset will be better than trimming a Chalice, though. Sword Equip, thank you very much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. 14 months is a hell of a streak, whatever we want to call it. Keep or mull? We're gonna keep this one. My opponent has mulligan to 5. Not So Silent Bob, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. I'm having a lot of fun with this ridiculousness. Do I YOLO? Do I YOLO? My opponent on 3 cards. It refuels their hand. I don't think I YOLO. I mostly don't want to YOLO because my graveyard is so incredibly powerful right now. And if my opponent can miss land drops for a couple of turns while I do cool things, I'd enjoy that. I think this is a difficult to play turn. There's a lot of different things that you can do here that hedge against various things. I'm going to go ahead and play the Narset. My opponent's on 3 cards. They have Ancestral coming. If I can keep this on the battlefield, it eliminates a ton of their outs. Oh, wow. So much gas. I'll take a Karn. Emery giving me so many options here as well. Oh, no. Oh, Nathan, no. GG's. Narset confirmed dumb. Honorable seppuku. To be fair, I think Nathan was so beyond dead from that position given how crazy good my hand was. Like, I had the Ancestral shut off, I had that Brainstorm in hand shut off, I had Karn and Urza coming the next turn. I didn't math it out yet, but that's probably what was happening. Don't feel too bad, Nathan, because my hand there was absolutely stacked. You probably weren't getting through it anyway. So I had Karn, I had Karn, Urza, and Echoes in hand. So I was in super good shape moving forward in that game. And I also just had like Emery in graveyard as an additional just like draw another card every turn. This deck's dumb. That match went quickly, so let's see if we can get the 5-0 on stream here. More importantly, let's see if I can get the 5-0 on stream and then get my deck list published instead of Whiteface's deck lists and just, like, steal the glory. Seriously, though, not my deck list. Whiteface has made this one, and it is, like, chef's kiss good. I love this deck. But seriously, mentally, I'm drained. So we've done 4 matches with this, plus a match with D&T. So that is, it is a lot. And most of these matches have been long. So we're on 3 hours for 5 matches. Oh. Oh, I thought you were going